Ranked anxiety is seemingly common. I did a poll, and 80% of people said that they felt like they experienced ranked anxiety, some much worse than others. So here's a quick video on some things that may help those of you experiencing it. First, we have to identify the two main sources of anxiety. First, we have the internal source, and then we have the external source. For internal, we have, if I am having bad outcomes, I have a terrible experience, and that sucks. I have no control over my experience. My rank is linked to my self-worth. It can be pretty hellish. But then we have, on top of that, these external elements too. So I'm worried about what other people think of me or my rank. So you get that insecurity, or negative interactions with my teammates in the game, which can happen randomly, affect me greatly and ruin my quality of my experience. You know, I have to live up to the pressure from the expectations of my teammates. Something else that is, again, this external factor that's applying pressure to you and making your experience worse. There are certainly more examples, but those cover some of the bigger ones, I think. Now let's move on to some mitigating strategies, some things we can do to approach this problem and to solve it, to have a better experience in ranked. Generally, like with anything where we have anxiety or phobias, exposure is often the best tool for the job. And as we need to increase the exposure and the likelihood of a positive experience with that exposure, we need to approach things in a few ways. Firstly, we need to get you playing more. That's how you get the exposure. So try setting a quota as to how many ranked games you must play per session and stick to the quota. This can be as little as one game, and you can create a process around that one game. Create a consistent warm-up regimen pre-ranked. Maybe you do some VOD review. Have a notepad handy and note down the rounds that you feel like you could maybe have done better on, and also the rounds in which you feel like you handled really well as a positive reinforcement, and to understand what you should be doing more of as well as less of. Another thing that you can do is to locally record those games, and then you can review those rounds after you're done with your session. So you've built out this whole system of how you actually approach each day of practice, and you're re-tooling it, re-gearing it, so it's all focused around you and improving things in a way that's more controlled. And hey, if you hit your quota and you want to go beyond it, I don't know that you should initially. You should cap yourself and stick to it. We want to be deliberate. We want to rewire our brains over time. Make it so that it's an action linked to other goals when you press the Q button. Generally, when you're approaching your improvement in any way, you want to create systems. It's one of the best ways to do it because you can tweak the systems over time. And that's what we're doing here. Let's look at some other mitigating strategies. One, every game is a learning experience. Outcome's not important. You can't control anything but your decision making and your comms. Your mechanics are inherently unreliable. And so this is why we want to note things down, record locally. We don't want to be slaves to our emotions. We want to get out of that habit of getting so caught up in our emotions and getting away from the things that we can consistently work on to be better players. And hey, if you come away from each game feeling like you've learned something, you're going to have an active measurement of your improvement that goes beyond the match outcome and the stats page. And the second point is acceptance. Your game experience is utterly unreliable, as is the performance and interactions you have with your teammates. Accept it. Don't fight against it. It's true. So don't expect things to be a certain way. Observe the situation, orient yourself, decide what to do, and then act. 3, use the mute button. Always maintain good comms, even if you have had to mute people. There is a threshold as to how helpful someone is on comms. So don't be afraid to mute somebody for a better personal experience. You might actually find that it'll actually make your comms way better because you'll feel like you can actually put more into it because you don't have this toxic person, just basically jamming up your comms. Some individuals want to be combative and they want to run around with enormous just bad habits and toxic behaviors. And generally speaking, engaging with people with this many leaks in their mental game is pretty pointless. You'll be able to tell, I think, pretty easily who's worth it and who's not. I can usually tell in the first few rounds based on how someone's comming. I can know whether I can just mute them there or then or not. I'm pretty consistent with that, and you can probably have a good sense of that too. 4, set a lot of small and big goals. This is helpful because you can hit success criteria that are not linked to the outcome of the match. So again, this is going to raise your confidence and give you a more consistent experience. A success criteria could just be playing the match. I played a match today. You could create a success criteria which could be, tomorrow my success criteria is to increase my quota, or my success criteria is to do more review, or my success criteria is to try some of the things that I was researching, and now I'm putting that into this game. So now you're you're not really placing the emphasis on outcomes. You're placing the emphasis on executing things that you think will lead to your improvement. And so creating a whole system around this experience is going to make it feel much more in your control. And that's going to help with the anxiety a lot. And then over time, that exposure is going to grow and grow and grow. With all of that said, I hope this video was informative or had some helpful ideas for you guys who may be experiencing this. Feel free to let me know in the comments or on Twitter or wherever you can reach me if you feel like I missed something and you want to discuss this even more. And so with that said, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.